Hey, I'm Daniel, and this is the first video I'm posting on this channel, which is why it looks and sounds like this. I'm making this channel because I'm a pretty bad reader, bookshelf of half-read books, and this is my way of changing that. So let's see how far this goes. 1,000 years ago, the Lord Ruler conquered the known world and became a god. He made the people who supported him nobility, and the people who did not, ska, a slave class. And he gave the nobility magic powers that can be inherited genetically. And even though the interbreeding with ska is prohibited, some ska now have the ability for magic. Vin is one of those people. She's a 16-year-old illegitimate daughter of a nobleman and a ska prostitute, and she is trying to survive in a thieving crew after her brother abandons her there. She is found by Kelsier, who is also the illegitimate child of a nobleman, and is a famous thief with a personal vendetta against the Lord Ruler. The book follows Vin as she joins Kelsier's thieving crew and they attempt to overthrow the Lord Ruler, as well as Vin realizing she has the ability for magic and learning how to use it from Kelsier. Sanderson says this book started with two concepts: a heist job movie and what if the bad guy had won. He takes these two and runs with it, and he does it well. So first off, read this book for the magic system. Sanderson is known for his magic, and for good reason. In this book, it ranges from very abstract to very visceral. Some practitioners manipulate emotions, subtly or not so subtly. Others can jump rooftop to rooftop, or have super strength and endurance, and some can do all of that. He sets up something that's robust enough for intense action, but also for nuanced situations. It's a hard magic system, but Sanderson balances that with wonder by having none of the characters really know everything about the system, even the powers they themselves possess. We're often learning with the characters about what's possible in this world, particularly through Vin. Vin is the archetypical rookie in this heist job. Sanderson actually talks about how Vin is this rookie character you learn about the world through in one of his lectures. I'll link that in the description. So it makes sense that this book is mainly in Vin's perspective, especially as we realize that the focal point of this trilogy will be Vin. Though, frankly, I do kind of wish it was more evenly distributed, just because the side characters are so good in this book, zazed. And they don't all share the same perspective that Vin and Kelsier have. This book does border on YA, hence the YA editions that they have, because we're largely in Vin's head, and also because there's romance and she does stupid things for the romance. I think that's one of the reasons why people say Sanderson can't write romance, and I'm kind of on the fence about it. On one hand, given her background, these are the first time she's having these feelings, and I could see a younger me making these same kind of mistakes. Younger me like last week. But at the same time, she is in a high-stakes situation that's life or death, so I don't know. It also borders on YA because of the prose. Particularly, Sanderson likes to reiterate things, either through Vin or the narration, that have been said before but are important now. I'm a pretty poor reader, so that's kind of helpful for me, but I can see somebody who's a better reader getting annoyed with that sort of thing. While it does border on YA, there is a decent amount of graphic imagery in this book. It's apparently not grimdark level, though I'm not well read enough to tell you myself. But there are definitely some moments where you realize how violent this world is supposed to be. And that's reflected in the characters. Kelsier kills noblemen and ska working for noblemen without hesitation and with pleasure. There's a lot of places in this book where you can say, oh, the sensibilities don't make sense with the world that they live in. But there's also a heavy dose of even the better guys aren't always good guys. And I think that's one of the most important things Sanderson does with this book, because of course the millennia of violence done against ska justifies their attempt to burn the system down. But in their fight, should the ska return the indiscriminate hatred that they were given? Should they play by the categories that the oppressed gave them? Well, that's not the direct theme that Sanderson focuses on. It's the theme that stood out to me the most when I was thinking about the world building that he did. I'm having a lot of trouble trying to articulate how I think Sanderson handles the power structure in the Final Empire well. There are two scenes that I think are really exemplary, though. The first is when the crew is watching their allies be executed, and Vin notices that some of the nobility, I think Ellen in particular, are uncomfortable. And you realize they're there almost for the same reason the ska are, to witness what happens to those who cross the Lord Ruler. So while the nobility are the oppressors and are privileged in this society, they are also hostages to the Lord Ruler. And the second is when Vin says that the crew aren't Ska because they don't live like Ska. It points out that not all Ska are in the same position. Some are plantation Ska, while others live almost as well as the poorest of nobility. So while the crew are Ska, and therefore oppressed in this society, they hold a certain level of privilege. So a question is, will the privileged Ska use their privilege to help those who have less, or will they cling to it just to have a decent life? That's the question for Marsh especially, and Ham. I don't know, these are just the things that stood out to me. Just some random things. The fight between Vin and Sean, I think that's how you say her name. It's dope. I literally sat down and finished the book after that. I want to see it in a movie. Vin meets Ellen when she's 16 and he's 21. So yikes. Like, I know she's tough, but that's because of all the trauma she's had to deal with. I just think it should be mentioned. There are two moments in this book that made me laugh out loud at the ridiculousness of it. The first one is when Kelsier and the crew are planning their mission on the blackboard, which Ska have access to for some reason. And they're like, we're gonna steal all the Lord Ruler's adium, because even though he's a god and gives people magic powers, he can't control the market without adium. The second was near the end of the book when the Steel Inquisitors have Vin, but they don't torture and kill her immediately, because Carr, a Steel Inquisitor we're introduced to by name, is going to use her half-bloodedness to prove to the Lord Ruler that the Obligators are unfit for their job, and the Steel Inquisitors should be doing it instead. So we get this half page inside this monster's head of him being pleased with himself that he got the promotion he was after. So I like this book, and I recommend it. The magic is interesting, the characters are nuanced, and the world building tells a story and a message. I got the sequel. It's a tad thicker because, Sanderson. We'll see how long it takes me to come out with the next video. Thanks for watching. I'm excited for this channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.